What is going on, Notre Dame football fans? I'm Tyler Horka. That's Jack Sobel. We are with blueandgold.com, Blue and Gold Illustrated. Obviously, on Notre Dame's campus, you see Touchdown Jesus. Behind us, we were over at the Irish Athletic Center and the adjacent LeBar practice fields a couple of hours ago here on Wednesday, July 31st. Exactly 1 month before Notre Dame kicks off the season, by the way, on August 31st against Texas A&M. They took the first steps, the Irish did, toward being ready for that football game, which is a massive one to open the season. Obviously, all eyes were on the Notre Dame quarterbacks today. Jack, that's where we will start. Riley Leonard, Steve Angeli, obviously there's Kenny Minchey and C.J. Carr as well. But when we talked to Marcus Freeman in his post-practice press conference, he really just kind of centered on Leonard and Angeli because those are the 1-2 on the depth chart. What more can you tell us about the depth chart and kind of the split of reps that we saw today from those two guys?
Yeah, Riley Leonard got the vast majority, if not all, of the reps with the ones. I think there might have been a few where Steve Angeli was mixing in there, but the vast majority of the reps with the ones was Riley Leonard. Marcus Freeman, after practice, confirmed that. Stopped just short of naming Riley Leonard the starter. Did not say the words, but until we see otherwise, I think it's pretty good to assume that Riley Leonard will take the first rep at Texas A&M, as was the case since he transferred here. We didn't see much, if anything, from C.J. Carr and Kenny Minchey. We did see a lot of Leonard and Angeli. They both had their ups and downs, as to be expected in first practice. Riley Leonard had a few nice throws to the sideline, I thought. He hit like Jordan Faison, Bo Collins a couple times. He hit Jaden Thomas a few times deep. Over airmailed Chris Mitchell. Had a couple maybe broken up by Christian Gray to Collins, I thought. Steve Angeli hit Micah Gilbert a few times. Gilbert was a standout today. He nearly threw a pick six to Don Schuler. Again, both up and down, but, again, to be expected.
Yeah, and I guess Riley Leonard technically did kind of throw a pick six, and that was in one-on-ones, though. That was Xavier Watts, who was covering, you saw who?
He was covering Jaden Greathouse, and again, like pick six and one-on-ones, you have to throw it, so can't really put that on the quarterback. But.
Not on the quarterback. That was more me shouting out Xavier Watts. We're going to get to the defense, but you mentioned Micah Gilbert, Jaden Greathouse, Jordan Faison. Some of these guys that Leonard and Angeli were throwing the ball today, too. Micah Gilbert stood out the most. He was matched up against some of Notre Dame's reserve cornerbacks, though, so it wasn't like he was torching Benjamin Morrison and Christian Gray. I will talk about those guys in a minute, but what did you see from the pass catchers?
Yeah, Micah Gilbert was good. He got matched up. Gilbert's a boundary receiver. Chance Tucker's a second-team boundary corner. Got matched up on Tucker, and they went to him pretty much every time that happened. Freeman was getting on Tucker towards the end of practice. Like, he was yelling at him to move your feet. When Micah Gilbert had a catch against him in a zone coverage, we believe. Mm-hmm. But yeah, one-on-one, Gilbert was winning that matchup over and over again. He looked really good again against the twos, but he looked good. Jaden Harrison, the Marshall transfer, we saw him early in spring. We didn't see him a ton late in spring, but he looked really good as well. He's really quick. He's got great hands. I've never seen him make a body catch. He's all hands catches. He's quick, he's shifty, he's speedy. I'm really confused. Like, why was Marshall not using him more, Tyler? It really perplexes me that Marshall.
It's almost like they found out too late because he had some catches last year. But it's like, why weren't you doing that for 4 years with this guy?
No, he will be a piece of Notre Dame's offense that they'll use in games. I'm pretty sure of that.
And I think that's why you saw Jordan Faison working in the field today, because you think, okay, Jaden Greathouse, you're high on him. I have to be high on him because he's a Texas guy, fellow Texan, great player. No matter where he's from, he's a great player. He's in the slot. Jaden Harrison's in the slot. So you're thinking, okay, where do we put the Sun Bowl MVP, who was by and large this team's best, and health played a huge part of this, receiver for the second half of last season? You saw Jordan Faison working in the field a lot today, because I think you're going to see a lot of Greathouse and Harrison kind of tag teaming the slot. And again, Faison probably ends up in the slot here and there as well. A lot of weapons for this Notre Dame offense, and we really didn't even see Chris Mitchell do much today. Or Bo Collins had a catch. Marcus Freeman shouted him out in the post-game or in the post-practice press conference. But Mitchell Evans, let's shift to injuries now. He did not take part in the team portions of the practice today. Of course, he's coming back from a torn ACL that he suffered in late October, I believe it was. So he's on a really good track. I think they're just being cautious with him. You'll probably see him at Texas A&M. Another guy, and I'll let you talk about both of these guys if you want to, who's probably ahead of schedule because he just had shoulder surgery in late March, maybe early April. Benjamin Morrison and I get it, they weren't wearing full pads today, but he was going to the ground for loose footballs. He was, playing some contested physical coverage, thudding a little bit even. What did you see from him? Because it looks like he's a guy that I think is going to play against Texas A&M and start against Texas A&M.
Yeah, and Marcus Freeman told us those three guys, Evans, Morrison, and Kevin Bauman, the tight end, who really hasn't played in 2 years because of injuries, but he did about as much as Evans, kind of going routes on air, but not in team. Freeman said he expects all three of those guys to be ready for Texas A&M, and that includes Benjamin Morrison, who is the one guy who they've always said that they expect him to be ready for Texas A&M, but he was the one guy we were like, we're maybe not so sure. Yeah. But yeah, he probably did more than the injured tight ends. Yeah. He didn't really look like the Benjamin Morrison we're used to seeing, I would say, which makes sense. He's limited. Jaden Thomas beat him for a few catches downfield. Thomas was another standout among the wide receivers. But yeah, good. I would say good news on all fronts with that.
Absolutely. Bad news though. Kahanu Kia coming back from his mission trip looked really good in the blue goal game, Jack. I think he led all tacklers in that game with maybe a baker's dozen tackles. He was phenomenal. He's out for the season, most likely. Marcus Freeman didn't explicitly say so, but tore his ACL in the summer, Jack, so that's probably it for him. The thing is, though, I asked Marcus Freeman about Notre Dame's linebackers in the press conference. The Irish feel really good about what they have there. The combinations today, and it was mostly nickel, and Jordan Clark was playing pretty much. He was the exclusive nickel. I think Jaden Osbury might have played a few snaps at nickel, but then again, that might have just been 4-3 base. Yeah. So Jordan Clark is your nickel. When you have two linebackers on the field, when you have three linebackers on the field, I was very impressed with, Drake Bowen, Jack Kaiser, Kingston Viliamu-Asa.
KVA I thought especially looked good.
I mentioned Osbury playing a little bit, in the middle of the defense there. A core group of like 4 or 5 guys who could probably play a whole lot of snaps, and I don't know if you have anything to add on those guys, but, I was impressed just by their positioning. And Notre Dame sent some blitzes today. Again, they were not wearing pads, but when the linebackers rushed, Riley Leonard did not get a pass off, or, it would have been a sack if they were taking him to the ground. I was really impressed by, kind of the front seven, especially the linebackers.
Look, and again, I think that's to be expected when the defense has just so much more experience in the system. Mike, to Mike Denbrock's credit, he wasn't accepting that. He was getting on his guys all practice. Mike, you can hear Mike Denbrock from where we were on the sideline. But yeah, when the linebackers, they blitzed a ton of linebackers last year. I want to say probably 20 to 40%. I can't remember the exact numbers of. It was a high number of pressures that came from the linebackers last year. It's going to be the case again this year. On those third down pressure packages, they're going to use KVA. They're going to use Drake Bowen. Jack Kaiser probably won't come off the field much because he's their only experienced linebacker. Jaden Osbury is a good blitzer. We know what Jalen Snead can do as a pass rusher. They're going to use all those guys. They're going to use them a lot this year.
Yeah, Jalen Snead is a guy I failed to mention when I just kind of did the rundown. I'm glad you did, because he was in there when you have a rover situation, 3 linebackers on the field, base, 4-3 defense. He was the rover exclusively. He's going to be your guy there. But I think you're also going to see him play some will, to be quite honest with you. And I saw Jack Kaiser playing the middle. That was a thing in spring ball where you're like, okay, you have Drake Bowen, you have Kingston Viliamu-Asa. Those are your middle linebackers. This is just a reminder, and you pumped him up, rightfully so, 6th-year player. Jack Kaiser can play in the middle too if Notre Dame needs him to. So very stout there. The defensive line was exactly as you would have thought it would be coming out of spring ball. You kind of have your 4 set there. You have Riley Mills in the middle. You have Howard Cross in the middle. And then on the outside, the R.J. Oben, the Duke transfer, and Jordan Botelho. Boubacar Traore is coming on strong, though, man. He looks like your number 2 Viper, I would say, behind Botelho. And if it's a pass rush situation, I would not be shocked if they say, hey, Mr. Botelho, I know you've been here for quite a while, but we need a guy to get to the passer here. I saw one rep where Boubacar Traore basically long arm, and it was kind of a bull rush at the same time. He did both things so quickly to Charles Jagasaw, and we all think highly of Charles Jagasaw. So watch out for Boubacar Traore. I know this is just practice number 1. I'm not overreacting, but I've been high on him all summer, so I think you're going to see a lot of him.
When Boubacar Traore flashes in every single practice we've seen him, since
a year now.
Last year, yeah, it's been every single day with him. He's gonna play, like you said, on some of those third downs. He's still, again, with the qualifier with Boubacar, is he still has a bit of a ways to go as a run defender. But I think getting those second team reps is something that we hadn't seen a ton from him. We saw Junior Tuihalamaka in that role in the spring. It's very, very encouraging for Boubacar Traore to see. I think that's probably a good spot to transition to offensive line.
Absolutely, and I'll let you take it away because you were watching these guys. I think and I'll just put out a little qualifier, a little disclaimer here. I think the most interesting thing from the offensive line today was what we saw at right tackle. Yep. I don't know if you agree.
100%. 100%. It's Emil Wagner. He got every single first-team rep at right tackle, and Freeman basically said after practice, like, he's earned that right to be the first-team guy there right now, and he's not calling that competition quite yet. But I mean, not only did he play every first-team rep, he looked good. I think R.J. Oben, again, sixth-year defensive end, he's going to win some of those. He beat him on an inside move once, but he looked good in a few ways. He looked strong. It didn't look like his weight was an issue at all against, again, very, very old, experienced edge rushers. When pressure came on Riley Leonard and Steve Angeli, really Leonard because we're talking about the first team, I thought it was more up the middle, and I thought that was more, communication. And again, the offensive line hasn't played together much. They're going to work out those kinks this fall. But Wagner really held up well on the edge. There was one rep where that really impressed me, where he was lining up, I think next to Pat Coogan. They were doing like a half-field drill that Coogan was in there. For Billy Schroth, who's going to be the starter there. They had Jordan Mattel go inside, Riley Mills go outside. Wagner did a really good job picking up Mills on that stunt, and that was impressive to me. He looked good, and until we hear otherwise, I think it's a really good bet that Emil Wagner is going to be that starter at right tackle.
Everyone dogs him for the weight. Every time we post a new roster update, it's how's Emil Wagner not 300 pounds yet? But I'm telling you, on stunts like that, his advantage is going to be quickness and being able to cover a lot of area, because when you're throwing two guys like you just mentioned at you, you're going to be like, holy cow, I need to find a way to stay in front of both of these guys. I think Emil Wagner is going to be able to do that. So second team defensive line, I'll just run through real quickly. It was pretty much exclusively Joshua Burnham and Boubacar Traore as your defensive ends, and then Donovan Heinisch and Jason Anye in the middle. Not surprising there. I think that's going to be your core rotation of guys that you see there. I'll finish up the defensive talk with the defensive backs. Again, Benjamin Morrison did a lot more than I thought he would today. I think he's on track to play against Texas A&M. Christian Gray, Jaden Mickey, that's going to be it. It's been a thing for a few camps now, like fall camp last year, spring ball this year, now fall camp this year. They're going to be battling. You asked a good question about those guys. Who's going to win the starting position? The guy that earns the most trust, and I think they're both capable of that. And then with the safeties, it's Xavier Watts, who I mentioned earlier. And then I think it's a real battle between Rod Hurd and Adon Schuler. I think experience might win out there. When we saw 11 on 11, Rod Hurd was the first guy to trot out there with Xavier Watts at safety, but Adon Schuler kind of worked in and got his reps. So two really good safeties there. And then it was Luke Talich who was kind of backing up Xavier Watts as that second team safety. And again, I mentioned Jordan Clark. He's your nickel. He better stay healthy, because if he doesn't, I'm not sure what Notre Dame does there. Do you drop Rod Hurd down?
I think it's probably drop Rod Hurd.
We're going to have to see, but cross your fingers, hope that Jordan Clark stays healthy, because I think he's a really good football player too. He looked really good. He knows how to cover in the middle of the field. So that's all from me on the defense, Jack. We talked a lot about the offense. Anything to add?
Just one small depth chart note, or not that small, honestly. At left guard, we had Pat Coogan and Rocco Spindler. We saw them split first team reps, where like at right tackle it was all Emil Wagner. It was a split between Coogan and Spindler on the first team. It's about it. You mentioned Faison working at field receiver. I've always seen him, because of the size, people see him as a slot guy. I've always seen him as someone with kind of the quickness and twitchiness who can play the field. Whereas I think Greathouse is probably more of a slot guy for me, just because of the kind of it's hard to explain just the way he wins.
Well, it comes down. I like what you said there. It comes down to winning, and I think Jordan Faison has a better chance of winning outside with the quickness than a Jaden Greathouse, who can definitely beat you inside. So, a lot to like. I know it was just one practice. We will be here again throughout the week. We have practice availabilities on Thursday and Friday to kind of round out the first week of Notre Dame fall camp. But, Jack, I think it was an exciting day, and it'll be August 31st before we know it. So for Jack Sobel, I'm Tyler Horka. This is blueandgold.com, Blue and Gold Illustrated.